The book of Nahum is one of the 12 minor prophets in the Old Testament of the Bible. It is relatively short, consisting of 3 chapters, but its message is potent, focusing on the impending destruction of Nineveh, the capital of the Assyrian Empire, which was known for its brutality and oppression of Israel and other nations. Historical context. The book of Nahum was written during a time when the Assyrian Empire was at the height of its power but also nearing its downfall. Assyria had dominated the region for centuries, and its capital, Nineveh, was a symbol of its vast wealth and military might. However, Assyria's cruelty toward conquered nations, including the northern kingdom of Israel, which it had exiled, marked it for divine judgment. Nahum's prophecy is set against this backdrop, likely written sometime between 663 and 612 BCE, just before Nineveh's fall to a coalition of Babylonian, Medes, and Scythian forces in 612 BCE. Structure and themes. The Book of Nahum is structured in a poetic form, utilizing vivid imagery and dramatic language. It can be divided into 3 main sections. 1. The Majesty and Judgment of God. Nahum, Chapter 1. The first chapter establishes the theological foundation of Nahum's prophecy by focusing on God's attributes. It opens with a declaration of God's jealousy and vengeance. Nahum chapter 1 verse 2. This is not a petty jealousy but a righteous indignation against sin and injustice. God is described as slow to anger, but also powerful, capable of punishing the guilty. The chapter emphasizes both his mercy and his wrath. Nahum portrays God as the sovereign ruler over creation, controlling the natural world, storms, seas, mountains, and nations alike. The poetic imagery describes God as a whirlwind and storm, with mountains quaking and the earth burning at his presence. In contrast to God's enemies, Nahum reassures Judah, the southern kingdom, that God is their refuge in times of trouble. For Judah, the prophecy of Nineveh's destruction is a message of hope, a reminder that their oppressors will not reign forever. 2. The destruction of Nineveh, foretold. Nahum, Chapter 2. The second chapter is a vivid portrayal of Nineveh's impending destruction. Nahum describes a siege against the city, with advancing soldiers, chariots speeding through the streets, and the walls of the city breached. The descriptions are so detailed that they make the reader feel like an eyewitness to the battle. Nineveh, once considered impregnable, is likened to a lion's den, filled with spoils from its conquests. But now, the hunters, the Babylonians and Medes, have come to tear it apart. The text emphasizes the reversal of fortune. The once great city, full of pride and brutality, will be utterly plundered and left desolate. Nahum's language is both triumphant and haunting, reflecting the theme of divine justice. God is acting as a judge, bringing retribution to the city that had once terrorized nations. The chapter concludes with a sense of finality. There is no escape for Nineveh. 3. The cause and consequences of Nineveh's fall. Nahum, Chapter 3. The final chapter explains why Nineveh deserves its fate. The city is condemned for its violence, deceit, and oppression. Nahum calls Nineveh a city of blood, filled with lies and endless cruelty. Nahum, Chapter 3, verse 1. The prophet recounts the atrocities committed by the Assyrians, noting how their conquests were marked by brutality and terror. Nahum compares Nineveh's fate to that of Thebes, another great city that had fallen before the Assyrian army. Just as Thebes had been shattered, so too will Nineveh. The city's defenses will fail. Its leaders will flee in panic, and its people will be scattered. The prophet uses powerful imagery to depict the city's total collapse, describing its warriors as weak and its gates thrown wide open to its enemies. The chapter also highlights the irony of Nineveh's downfall. Despite its military strength and vast resources, the city will be humiliated. Nahum describes the people's helplessness, comparing them to women fleeing in terror. Even the Assyrian kings, once revered as lions, will be reduced to nothing. Key themes. 1. Divine justice. A central theme of Nahum is the certainty of God's judgment against wickedness. Nineveh had been a powerful and oppressive force, but no amount of human strength can shield it from divine retribution. This underscores the idea that God's justice is inevitable and inescapable. 2. God's sovereignty. Nahum's prophecy portrays God as the ultimate authority over the nations. Even the mightiest empires are subject to his will. The rise and fall of nations, including the powerful Assyrian Empire, are all within God's control. 3. Hope for the oppressed. For Judah and other nations oppressed by Assyria, Nahum's message is one of hope and vindication. The downfall of Nineveh symbolizes the end of their suffering and the restoration of justice. 4. Reversal of fortunes. Nahum highlights the theme of reversal, where the mighty are brought low and the powerless are lifted up. Nineveh, once feared, will become an object of scorn, while Judah, once oppressed, will find comfort in God's protection. Conclusion. The Book of Nahum is a powerful example of prophetic literature, combining theological reflection with vivid, poetic imagery. Its message of God's justice, sovereignty, and concern for the oppressed resonates through its portrayal of Nineveh's destruction. While the book is primarily focused on the fate of Assyria, its broader themes of divine justice and the eventual triumph of good over evil have continued relevance. The prophecy of Nahum is both a warning to those who practice injustice and a source of comfort for those who trust in God's ultimate authority over the world.